Avalanche Reviews. Top 3 Underrated Horror Games.
How's it going, guys? I'm Jared, and welcome to my number 2 underrated horror game of all time. Now, if you've checked out some of my other videos, you may have noticed I fucking love survival horror. There's just something about a game that makes you feel powerless and puts you in a terrifying environment. And I don't think I'm alone in my love for survival horror. Resident Evils 1 and 2 sold really well when they came out, and Silent Hill didn't do too bad for itself either. So you'd figure the games industry would jump all over this new business venture. But you'd be wrong. Despite a couple of exceptions, the survival horror genre was limited to only a few big contenders. Sure, there were some terrible attempts like Countdown Vampires, but overall, survival horror as a genre was dangerously close to becoming stale and washed out. I guess it's a good thing that didn't happen. Shit! Okay, so survival horror may be worse off than before, but luckily for us, the industry snuck out a couple of gems under the radar before spiraling out of control. Today we're going to be talking about Obscure, a survival horror game that's, well, obscure. Released in 2004, just before Resident Evil received the final nail in its coffin in the form of RE4, Obscure was a weird game to say the least. Having been made almost a decade after the game that started the genre, Obscure had no hope of capturing an already interested audience. I assume the game developers, Hydravision Entertainment, must have just really wanted to make a spooky survival horror game, and honestly, they succeeded. As a matter of fact, Obscure manages to do what most horror games can't do today, take an admittedly formulaic genre and breathe a little much-needed life into it. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. In Obscure, you play as not one, but 5 teenagers handpicked from the best early 2000s stereotypes you've ever heard of, who have been locked inside their high school while looking for their mutual friend. While exploring the school, we find there's a little more going on here than cut-rate education. It seems like the principal is involved in researching a rare plant spore that has the potential of letting its host live forever. Although it seems like choosing the school as a cover-up for his research was a good idea at the time, the experiments have gotten loose, and now our protagonists must fight their way through these creepy-ass plant monsters and even their own infected classmates to find their friend and escape the school. For those of you looking for that traditional survival horror experience but are tired of replaying the classics, Obscure will be the proverbial light at the end of the tunnel. This game sticks surprisingly close to the roots of the genre and only strays from the survival horror path when trying to improve on the formula.
Check it, a gun, no more fooling around.
One pretty large change is your ability to fight side by side with your friends. You can pick and choose who accompanies you, and this is more than just aesthetic choice, as each character has their own special abilities, like lockpicking or proficiency with guns. While exploring the decrepit halls of Leafmore High, you're bound to lose a friend or two. But don't worry, this doesn't mean game over. Finishing the game is possible as long as you and another character still lives. But of course, you may want to keep your friends alive if you want that good ending. Obscure's progression and storytelling are really well paced, and the horror is a perfect combination of immersive environments, creepy enemies, and jump scares. But the controls, on the other hand, are a mixed bag. Mirroring the 3D control scheme implemented by Silent Hill 3 kinda gives me mixed feelings. In areas where the camera moves, this works just fine, but in places with static camera angles, this control scheme can really work against you. But as an added bonus, Obscure's voice acting is not god-awful. In all honesty, it's not that great either, but just kinda run-of-the-mill.
Anything? You didn't notice anything bizarre?
Yeah, everything I see up in this piece is whack.
Monsters in the game can be dangerous as hell. Even larger enemies can move very fast, and the smaller ones can corner you in tight spaces with relative ease. Combat in Obscure starts out mostly melee-based, but it's not long until you find some firearms. Since monsters have an aversion to light, finding or creating light sources adds a little depth to the combat. Busting out windows, turning on broken generators, or focusing your flashlight can be alternatives to outright confronting enemies. While I wish Obscure's story would have taken itself a little more seriously, I can't deny a soft spot for its campiness. Characters are obvious stereotypes, and the story tries a little too hard to emulate American horror tropes of the time, but I can't help but love it.
I'm really starting to get worried.
I know. Aliens beamed him up to their ship, did some experiments on him, and finally killed him.
The mood and the atmosphere the game presents are masterfully done. The graphics look amazing for the time, and the game as a whole just has this charm to it that makes it hard to criticize. While its insistence on sticking to the rules set by its forefathers may turn some modern gamers away, Obscure is a solid recommendation to fans of the survival horror genre, or anyone looking for a horror game that may have missed the mainstream acclaim. Well, that's about it for me, but make sure to check back next week to find out what my #1 underrated horror game is. And until then, I'm Jared. And this has been Avalanche Reviews. Thanks for watching my second pick for the most underrated horror game. If you liked what you saw, you can check out the first video in the series right here. Do you have your own list of underrated horror games? Well, let me know down in the comments. I'm interested to see if there's anything I might have missed. And while you're at it, hit that subscribe button so you can stay updated on my latest videos. Also, if you ever want to drop me a line, you can find me on Facebook or Twitter. Or you could just cut out the middleman and come to my house and beat me up for not liking Zelda. Either way works.